is just fantastic. Captain's Log, Subdate 21013.2. We've started training Ensign Spoon to operate the con, relegating Ensign Bork to Scutter Tier maintenance. Bork took this news poorly and chinned Ensign Spoon. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. Today we have inmate number 048. Yeah, that's her number. Happens to coincide with the number of videos in this series, whose name I cannot truly pronounce, and I do apologise to all of you watching, not to the inmate. The inmate's name is Fatheha, I believe, Begum Abedin. But for the remainder of this video, I should be calling her Fat. Now, Fat, in February of 2018, was taking a leisurely stroll in her car through Leicester. One of my patrons is from there. I was having a wonderful time with impending lockdown measures possibly coming into effect, when whilst driving her car, she received a phone call, and being the popular person that she is, Fat decided to answer the call, which was her first mistake. To be on your mobile device whilst driving a vehicle is illegal in the United Kingdom. It is in many other countries, in fact, but for the sake of this story, we focus on the UK. The punishment for such a crime in the United Kingdom is 6 points on your licence, 6 more and you lose your licence, and a £200 fine. Now, you will automatically lose your licence if you passed your driving test in the last 2 years, and you also get 3 points if you don't have a full view of the road and traffic ahead, or proper control of the vehicle. Whilst driving down the Evington Street around 6:15 p.m. on Monday the 5th, 2018, on her way to collect a takeaway, Fat crashed into an old man who was crossing a zebra crossing, and she had not noticed him because she was on her phone. Being the genius that Fat is, she decided instead of stopping that her food was far more important to her. And of course the damage to her car needed to be dealt with quickly. We'll get to that momentarily. So she left the gentleman who she had harmed, a 61-year-old man, in the middle of the road and carried on to get her noms and go home and chill after she'd had her car serviced. The police then, because of the CCTV footage, started to gather evidence, going so far as to put out a local appeal to try and find the person responsible. 11 days after the crash, Fat was arrested and interviewed by the Leicestershire police. Initially, her family had supported her arrest because of what had happened. There are reasons, we'll get to it, later. They actually ended up withdrawing their support for the matter being prosecuted in the courts. I can't imagine why. We'll get to that again later. Before we get to how she handled the interviews and, of course, what happened in the courtroom, one of the major injuries caused to the gentleman she hit was a fractured pelvis. So let's go to the interview, shall we? There were a number of lies Fat told, and these lies were quite interesting. I think for the sake of it, had she not lied as many times as she had, she more than likely would have gotten a lighter sentence than the one she got, which we'll get to later, but I'm going to spoil partially now by saying it was a weak sentence. So the first lie, she insisted she was not aware of the crash that had happened that evening. The next lie she told was that she might have been involved. However, she had suffered a partial loss of consciousness caused by an asthma attack, which meant she had no memory of the incident. Later on, her next lie, she claimed that the damage that was caused to her car had been caused by thieves breaking into the car to steal her phone, because that had oddly gone missing. Don't worry, it turned up, because while she had tried to hide the phone, the police found that one, okay? And they'd also noticed 32 messages had been deleted from her phone, and they were incriminating ones because they were the ones she was sending when she hit the 61-year-old man. Eventually, the pharmacy assistant, Fat, ran out of lies and decided, right, my only option here is to plead guilty. I can't imagine why. So she did, to 2 offences, causing serious injury by dangerous driving and perverting the course of justice. After a remarkably short trial at the Leicester Crown Court, Fat was found guilty of both charges. When sentencing, the judge said, firstly, that somebody who drove a similar car had been arrested and spent an evening in police custody before he was ruled out of the investigation, but then continued to quote, "It is apparent to me that not only did you know you had been involved in a road traffic collision, but went to considerable lengths to cover up your involvement. An innocent man was arrested and detained overnight by the police on the basis that he was thought to be the driver. The victim was taken to Leicester Royal Infirmary and spent a total of 11 days there. He sits in court today and has written a statement in which he expresses and has always felt, I am sure, his love and affection for you. Has the penny dropped with all of you yet? We'll get to it soon, don't worry. He stresses your importance to him, his wife, and his family in your role as carer. Oh, an employee, perhaps. If you are sent into immediate custody, I must have regard to the fact that could cause yet more pain to the victim of your crime. I have no desire to cause any further pain to him, but I have a public duty today. You did just about everything in your power to avoid responsibility for your behavior until you were forced to make the admissions you have. You have pleaded guilty to perverting the course of justice and causing serious injury by dangerous driving. This was a deliberate and sustained attempt to avoid responsibility for what you have done. My view, for the sake of it, before we get to the actual sentence, is that because you made a concerted effort to not tell the truth, it does not truly matter what you are to the victim. It doesn't in the slightest, because you lied and someone almost died. It is unacceptable, and while it is an interesting mitigating factor, it is not enough for me, a very no-nonsense judge, to grant you any clemency. However, in the United Kingdom, the sentence for causing serious injury via dangerous driving, the maximum sentence is 2 years and/or an unlimited fine. I would give her those 2 years for that crime anyway. And the fine, yeah, I'm going to make it a large one just because I'm a dick. Rather interestingly, in the United Kingdom, the maximum sentence for perverting the course of justice, obviously it's context-based, can be up to life. You lied to the police 4 times. You lied. You hid evidence. You did everything you could to avoid taking responsibility from somebody who has forgiven you. Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. And yes, I'd give you life. I'm just saying I'm a dick, okay? The sentence, by the way, is 6 months for the dangerous driving offence and 1 year for perverting the course of justice. The sentences are to be served consecutively, not concurrently, which means she serves the 18 months. But, to be honest, she will more than likely be out in 9 months, because that's how we work, yo. I personally will make sure she stays there for 18 months because, again, I'm a dick. She's also banned from driving for 2 years and 9 months. I hope that comes into effect the moment she leaves prison, because if it happens while she's there, essentially, you've given her a cop-out sentence. I do hope you, Fat, enjoy your time in the ISO cubes. It is where you belong. With everything we've discussed in this video, I'd very much like to know what you think. Please do let me know in the comments down below. If you think of a different sentence, again, I would love to know. As a final thing, if you did like the video, please consider hitting the like button, sharing it because it helps the channel greatly, and if you are not already, please consider subscribing. Oh, and before I forget, there is a detail I left out of the video. Who was the gentleman that was somehow connected to Fat, that Fat also worked for as a carer? Her father-in-law. With a population of 329,839 based on the 2011 census, so chances are it's going to be a lot higher than then, you managed to hit the one guy you married into.